For decades, America has believed the pickup war belonged to Detroit. Ford F-150, Chevrolet Silverado, and Ram 1500 were not just vehicles. They were proof of industrial-strength working-class pride and the idea that nobody understood truck buyers better than America. But the next threat to that empire may not look like a futuristic electric truck. It may not come with a giant battery, a radical shape, or a Silicon Valley badge. It may come from a China-built Nissan pickup with a plug-in hybrid system. That is what makes the Nissan Frontier Pro PHEV dangerous. It does not ask truck owners to abandon gasoline overnight. It does not force them to gamble everything on charging stations' winter range or towing with a full EV. Instead, it offers something far more practical: electric torque for daily driving and hard work, gasoline backup for long distance, and a lower risk path into electrified trucking. The pickup war may not be won by the biggest battery. It may be won by the smartest hybrid system. And if Detroit underestimates that, the definition of a truck may start changing outside America first. America never treated the pickup as just transportation. A pickup was the vehicle of job sites, farms, ranches, small businesses, oil fields, and suburban garages. It carried tools, trailers, families, lumber, boats, and sometimes an entire identity. For millions of Americans, the truck was not a trend. It was a promise. If the road was long, the weather was bad, or the work was heavy, the truck would handle it. Detroit understood this better than anyone. Ford, GM, and Ram did not build their truck empires only with horsepower. They built them with trust, strong frames, familiar engines, huge dealer networks, easy service. Decades of loyalty passed from fathers to sons, from contractors to crews, from rural roads to interstate highways. Then the EV transition arrived, and Detroit faced a difficult choice. One path was to defend the traditional gasoline truck for as long as possible. The other was to build large electric pickups like the F-150 Lightning and Silverado EV. On paper, that looked like a clean transition: old trucks on one side, future trucks on the other. But real truck buyers do not live on paper. A gasoline truck feels safe, but it faces fuel costs, emissions pressure, and an industry moving toward electrification. A full electric truck feels advanced, but it raises hard questions. What happens when you tow in Colorado? What happens when winter cuts range in Michigan? What happens when the charger's broken, crowded, or 50 miles away? That gap is exactly where the Nissan Frontier Pro PHEV enters the story. It does not ask the truck buyer to abandon gasoline. It does not ask them to fully trust the charging network. It gives them electric driving for daily use, electric torque for work, and gasoline backup when the road gets long. Detroit was not wrong to believe Americans love pickups. The danger is that someone else may have found a lower risk bridge between the old truck world and the electrified one. The first weapon here is torque without full EV fear. A truck does not need power in the same way a sports car needs power. A sports car wants speed. A truck wants force. It needs to move weight from a dead stop climb with a trailer crawl through bad surfaces and keep control when the load behind it is fighting gravity. That is where electric torque becomes dangerous. It arrives instantly, like turning on a magnet under the road. No waiting for revs. No dramatic downshift. Just force. A full EV can do this well, but many truck buyers still hesitate. They ask what happens to range when the trailer is heavy. They ask where to charge when the job is rural. The Frontier Pro PHEV attacks that fear by combining electric punch with gasoline backup. Reports around the model point to roughly 410 horsepower, 800 newton meters of torque, 135 kilometers of electric driving, and 3.5 tons of towing capability. The message is not luxury. It is leverage. The second weapon is daily electric driving without demanding a new life. Most pickup owners are not towing every hour of every day. They commute. They buy groceries. They drop kids off at school. They drive across suburbs, job sites, and parking lots. A plug-in hybrid truck can turn those ordinary miles into electric miles. That matters because the real cost of a truck is not only the payment. It is the fuel burned in boring, repetitive, everyday driving. But when the road gets long, the gasoline engine remains. That is the psychological trick. A PHEV does not ask the buyer to trust a charger in rural Texas or a freezing station in Michigan. It lets the buyer use electricity when life is predictable, in gasoline when life is not. That may sound like a compromise. In the truck market, compromise can be more powerful than ideology. The third weapon is price pressure through export logic. If the Frontier Pro PHEV were only an expensive technology showcase, Detroit could ignore it. But a China-built pickup is not just a product. It is a production argument. It suggests that electrified truck technology can be developed inside one of the fastest vehicle ecosystems on Earth, then pushed outward into global markets where price matters as much as badge loyalty. The battle may not begin in the United States. Tariffs can slow that. The battle may begin in Latin America, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and Australia, where buyers also need tough vehicles, but may not be emotionally locked into the same Detroit mythology. If those markets start accepting plug-in hybrid pickups as normal, Ford and GM will feel the pressure before American showrooms even see the threat. The fourth weapon is utility beyond driving. A pickup is not only judged by how it moves, it is judged by what it can power. On a job site, electricity is not a feature. It is productivity. It can run tools, lights, pumps, equipment, and emergency backup systems. That is why onboard power became such a strong argument for American trucks. It turned the truck into a mobile workstation. The Frontier Pro PHEV is reported with a 6 kilowatt external power function, which places it directly inside that job site conversation. Suddenly, this is not only about fuel savings or emissions. It is about whether a lower-cost electrified pickup can also become the generator, the commuter, the tow vehicle, and the backup plan. That is why this formula matters. It does not try to defeat American trucks with one spectacular number. It attacks the entire ownership equation: torque, fuel costs, charging anxiety, towing confidence, worksite power, and price. For Detroit, that is a harder threat to answer than a futuristic EV, because this one does not ask the truck buyer to leap into the future. It simply makes the next step feel safer. The first American benchmark is the Ford F-150 PowerBoost. This is important because Ford already understood one thing clearly. Truck buyers may accept electrification if it protects utility. The PowerBoost hybrid delivers serious torque, strong towing ability, and onboard power. Ford lists the F-150 hybrid with up to 578 pound-feet of torque and up to 11,600 pounds of towing, which proves Detroit is not blind to the hybrid truck argument. But PowerBoost is still not the same threat as a plug-in hybrid pickup with meaningful electric-only driving. It reduces fuel use, but it does not truly ask the buyer to live part of the week as an EV owner. That is where the Frontier Pro PHEV changes the equation. It does not just add electricity to the truck. It changes when the truck burns fuel. The second benchmark is the Ford F-150 Lightning. Lightning is the clearest symbol of America's electric truck bet. It is powerful, fast, and technologically serious. But for traditional truck owners, the hard questions remain emotional before they become technical. What happens when the trailer is attached? What happens when the charger is not where the work is? What happens when winter cuts the range, right? When confidence matters most. The Frontier Pro PHEV does not need to win that debate by being more futuristic. It wins by asking for less belief. It gives the buyer electric torque, but it does not demand total dependence on charging infrastructure. That is not as dramatic as a full EV revolution. But in the truck market, lower anxiety can be more valuable than a more radical promise. Then comes Chevrolet Silverado EV. GM is attacking the problem with scale, big battery, long range, high torque, and serious towing capability. Chevrolet lists the 2026 Silverado EV with up to 478 miles of GM estimated range, up to 775 pound-feet of available torque, and up to 12,500 pounds of max available towing. That is a powerful answer on paper. But big numbers bring big burdens. Large EV trucks carry cost-weight battery supply pressure and charging dependence. A PHEV pickup may not look as advanced in a spec sheet war, but it can look more acceptable in a driveway on a ranch or beside a rural job site where charging is still a question mark. And then there is Ram. Ram has built its identity around comfort, strength, and traditional truck emotion. But even Ram's future points toward the same uncomfortable truth. The Ram 1500 REV is presented as a range-extended electric truck with a battery plus generator concept with projected availability in 2026. That shows the industry already knows pure EV adoption may not be enough for truck buyers. That is where Detroit gets exposed. The Frontier Pro PHEV does not have to defeat every American truck in every category. It only has to prove that a simpler ownership equation exists: electric driving during the week, gasoline confidence on long trips, torque for work, and enough utility to feel like a real truck. That is the threat, not superiority in one number. A better answer to the fears Detroit has not fully solved. The deeper issue is not that Nissan built one plug-in hybrid pickup. The deeper issue is where it was built, why it was built there, and what that says about the speed of the global auto industry. Nissan is no longer treating China only as a place to sell vehicles. It is treating China as a development base, a new energy testing ground, and an export platform. Reuters reported that Nissan planned an additional $1.4 billion investment in China by the end of 2026, with a target of 10 new energy vehicles by summer 2027, while also using China-made vehicles for export markets outside the United States because of tariffs. That matters because the old global auto order worked in the opposite direction. For decades, Western and Japanese automakers brought technology into China. They built joint ventures, protected their brands, and used China as a growth market. But the new pattern is more uncomfortable. China is becoming a place where global automakers learn speed, cost control, battery integration, software development, and electrified product planning, then push those lessons outward. For America, tariffs can block the front door. But tariffs cannot block Latin America, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Australia, or other truck-friendly markets from seeing a different pickup formula first. If buyers in those regions begin to accept plug-in hybrid trucks as normal, then Ford, GM, and Stellantis will face pressure before the American showroom even feels the impact. This is where supply chains become strategy. The company that controls batteries, motors, hybrid software, power electronics, and low-cost manufacturing does not just build cheaper vehicles. It builds faster reactions, and in a technology war, speed becomes a form of power. A truck platform that can be adapted quickly for export markets may be more dangerous than a perfect truck that arrives too late. There is also a labor warning inside this story. American union workers are not threatened only by robots or full EVs. They are threatened by product architectures that shift value away from traditional engines, transmissions, and legacy assembly logic. If electrified pickups can be engineered, sourced, and exported faster from Asia, the pressure on American industrial labor becomes structural, not temporary. Investors will notice the same thing. They will not only ask which company has the best truck today, they will ask who can respond fastest when the market changes, who has flexible platforms, who has battery access, who can sell into emerging markets without pricing themselves out. Reuters has reported that China's auto export surge is already reshaping competition in markets outside the US and Europe, where infrastructure and pricing often matter more than brand history. That is the export-based problem. Tariffs may protect America from the vehicle. They cannot protect America from the idea. And if the idea spreads first in the rest of the world, Detroit may discover the new pickup war only after the battlefield has already moved. Imagine you live outside Dallas. During the week, your truck is not climbing mountains or pulling a heavy trailer every morning. It is driving to work, stopping at Home Depot, picking up groceries, carrying tools, and sitting in traffic like every other daily vehicle. In that world, electric driving makes sense Quiet, cheap, simple miles. But on Friday afternoon, the same truck may need to pull a trailer, leave the city, and run deep into rural Texas, where the next fast charger may not be part of the plan. That is where a plug-in hybrid pickup becomes dangerous. Now move the scene to Michigan in January. The temperature drops. Range becomes uncertain. Batteries work harder. Cabins need heat. For an EV truck owner, every mile starts to feel like a calculation. But a PHEV does not make the driver depend entirely on the battery. It lets electricity handle the predictable miles, while gasoline remains the safety net when weather stops being predictable. Then put the truck in Colorado. You are pulling weight through elevation, wind, cold air, and long grades. Electric torque is exactly what you want when the load gets heavy. But full EV charging with a trailer can become frustrating fast. A hybrid pickup offers a more practical answer. Electric force when the truck needs muscle, gasoline confidence when the road gets long. This is why the Frontier Pro PHEV formula matters. It does not ask American truck owners to change who they are. It only asks them one uncomfortable question. If a truck can give you electric torque, lower daily fuel use, gasoline backup, and real work utility, why should your next truck be forced to choose only one side? The Nissan Frontier Pro PHEV does not need to become America's best-selling truck to matter. It only needs to prove that a new pickup formula can be developed, quickly built inside China's high-speed automotive ecosystem, exported into global markets, and aimed directly at the fears that full electric trucks have not completely solved. That is the warning for Detroit. Ford, GM, and Ram still have history. They still have loyalty. They still have dealer networks, truck culture, union labor, and decades of engineering credibility. None of that should be dismissed. But history does not automatically defend the future. If global truck buyers begin to expect electric torque, daily EV driving, gasoline backup, mobile power, and competitive pricing in one machine, then the pickup war has already moved beyond horsepower badges and engine displacement. The old pickup war was about displacement horsepower and badge loyalty. The new pickup war is about energy strategy, and if Detroit treats this as just another foreign experiment, it may miss the moment when the definition of a truck quietly changes outside America.